What happens when a beloved Hollywood icon walks onto a morning talk show expecting a friendly conversation, only to face a barrage of disrespectful questions and condescending remarks from a host who seems determined to tear him down on live television? In just 39 seconds of uncomfortable silence, everything would explode into one of the most shocking confrontations morning television has ever witnessed. The studio lights were bright that morning, and the energy in the room felt different from the moment Jamie Foxx walked onto the set. He had that signature smile on his face, the one that had charmed audiences for decades. He was there to talk about his latest project, to share some laughs, to connect with the viewers at home who had supported him throughout his career. But what started as a simple interview would spiral into something nobody saw coming. Michael Strahan sat across from him, flanked by the other hosts. Robin Roberts was to his left, her notepad ready. George Stephanopoulos was on the far end, adjusting his glasses. Ginger Z sat nearby, offering a warm smile to Jamie as he settled into his seat. The cameras rolled, the red lights blinked on, and millions of people tuned in expecting their usual morning routine of coffee, news, and lighthearted celebrity interviews. "So Jamie, thanks for joining us this morning," Michael began. But there was something in his tone, something that felt less like a greeting and more like a challenge. "I have to say, we were surprised you actually showed up." Jamie's smile faltered just slightly. He laughed it off, trying to keep things light. "Well, you know, I always keep my promises. Good to be here with you all." Robin jumped in quickly, sensing the odd energy. "Jamie, we're so excited to hear about your new film. It looks absolutely incredible. Can you tell our viewers what drew you to this project?" "Absolutely," Jamie said, his enthusiasm returning. "You know, this character really spoke to me because he represents someone who's been through struggles, who's had to fight for everything he has, and who never gives up. I think a lot of people can relate to that journey. We all face obstacles. We all have moments where we feel like the world is against us. But it's about how you rise above it." "That's beautiful," Ginger added, nodding along. "And you really brought so much depth to the role. We saw some of the early screenings, and the performance is just stunning." But before the conversation could continue in this positive direction, Michael cut in. "Yeah, but let's be real here, Jamie. You've been in Hollywood for how long now? 25, 30 years? And you're still doing the same types of roles. Don't you think it's time to evolve, to do something actually challenging?" The air in the studio shifted. Robin's eyes widened. George looked down at his papers. Ginger's smile disappeared. Jamie's expression changed from warm to confused. "I'm sorry, what?" Jamie asked, keeping his composure but clearly taken aback. "I'm just saying," Michael continued, leaning back in his chair with an air of superiority. "You keep playing these characters that are basically variations of yourself. The funny guy, the charming guy, the guy with the one-liners. Where's the real acting? Where's the transformation?" "Michael," Robin interjected, "I think that's a bit unfair. Jamie has won an Oscar, multiple Grammy Awards. He's done dramatic roles, comedies, action films. His range is actually quite too remarkable." "I'm just asking the questions people at home are thinking," Michael said dismissively, waving his hand. "We're here for honest conversation, right?" Jamie straightened in his seat. "Look, I appreciate honesty, but I'm not sure what you're getting at. I've spent my entire career challenging myself, taking risks, doing roles that scare me. I've played Ray Charles, I've done serious dramas, I've done comedy, I've done everything in between. So I'm a little confused about where this is coming from." "See, that's the thing," Michael pressed on. "You mentioned Ray Charles like it's supposed to end the conversation. That was 20 years ago. What have you done lately that's really impressed anyone?" George finally spoke up, his voice diplomatic. "I think Jamie's recent work has been very well received. The critics have praised his performances. Audiences love him. I'm not sure what the issue is here." "The issue," Michael said, turning to George with irritation, "is that we've become too soft. We don't ask the real questions anymore. We just let celebrities come on here, promote whatever they're selling, and we nod and smile. I'm trying to have a real conversation. A real conversation, Jamie repeated, his voice steady but you could hear the edge creeping in. Would involve mutual respect. A real conversation would acknowledge someone's body of work before questioning their entire career. A real conversation would maybe start with actual questions about the project I came here to discuss. Oh, so you can't handle criticism? Michael shot back. That's interesting. You're in the public eye. You're a public figure. But you can't handle someone questioning your choices? Robin tried again to steer things back. Jamie, why don't you tell us about working with the director on this film? We heard there were some amazing collaborative moments on set. But Jamie was focused on Michael now. I can handle criticism just fine. I've been handling it my whole life. What I can't handle is someone being disrespectful for no reason. I came here in good faith, to have a conversation, to share something I'm proud of with your viewers. And instead, I'm getting attacked. Attacked? Michael laughed, a condescending sound that echoed through the studio. You think this is an attack? This is a conversation. Maybe you're just too sensitive. Michael, come on, Ginger said, her voice soft but firm. Let's bring it back. We're all here to have a good time, to share some positive stories with our audience. No, Michael said, his voice rising. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of these celebrities walking in here thinking they're going to get a free pass. Jamie Foxx wants to come on our show? Fine. But he's going to answer real questions. What real questions? Jamie demanded. You haven't asked me anything real. You've just made accusations and insults. There's a difference between journalism and being rude. Rude? Michael stood up slightly, his body language becoming more aggressive. You want to talk about rude? Let's talk about how you've been late to every interview you've done this press tour. Let's talk about the stories of you being difficult. On set, let's talk about how you think you're too big a star to be held accountable. The studio went completely silent. Even the crew members behind the cameras looked uncomfortable. Robin closed her eyes briefly, as if hoping this was a nightmare she could wake up from. George set his papers down, preparing to intervene. Ginger looked between Michael and Jamie, her expression one of disbelief. Jamie stood up, his calm demeanor finally cracking. Who do you think you are? You're sitting here, on national television, making up stories about me, questioning my work ethic, my talent, my character. And for what? To make yourself feel important? To show everyone how tough you can be? I'm the host of this show, Michael said, also standing now. And I have every right to ask you whatever I want. Being a host doesn't give you the right to be cruel, Jamie fired back. It doesn't give you the right to ambush someone who came here in good faith. You know what your problem is? You're so concerned with looking tough, with being the guy who doesn't bow down to celebrity, that you've forgotten basic human decency. Please, both of you, let's just take a breath. Robin pleaded, standing between them. We can work this out. Let's go to commercial, regroup, and come back with a fresh start. But Michael wasn't done. No, let him speak. Let Jamie Foxx tell us all how he's the victim here. Let him explain how someone asking him actual questions is such a terrible thing. You're not asking questions, Jamie said, his voice powerful but controlled. You're grandstanding. You're using me to make yourself look good, to show your audience that you're some kind of hard-hitting interviewer, but all you're really showing them is that you're a bully. A bully? Michael scoffed. That's rich coming from someone who's been accused of having an ego the size of California. Accused by who? Jamie challenged. Where are you getting this information? Or are you just making things up as you go? George stood up now, his voice authoritative. Michael, I think we need to take a break. This has gone too far. No, Michael insisted. This is my segment. I'm conducting this interview. This isn't an interview, Ginger said, finding her voice. This is an ambush. And it's not right. Jamie came here as our guest, and we're treating him terribly. I'm treating him like anyone else, Michael argued. Just because he's famous doesn't mean he gets special treatment. There's a difference between not giving special treatment and being hostile, Robin said, her voice firm. And right now, you're being hostile. Jamie shook his head, a sad smile crossing his face. You know what? I don't need this. I've been in this industry long enough to know when someone is trying to make a name for themselves at my expense. I came here to talk about a project I care about, to share a story that I think will resonate with people. But clearly, that's not what this is about. So you're running away? Michael taunted. Can't handle the heat? I'm not running from anything, Jamie said, his voice clear and strong. I'm choosing not to participate in whatever this is. There's a difference between a tough interview and being disrespected, and I won't sit here and let you disrespect me, my career, or my character on live television. Fine, Michael said, crossing his arms. Leave. Prove everyone right about you. Michael! Robin exclaimed, shocked. That is completely out of line. Jamie looked at Robin, then at George and Ginger, his expression softening. I'm sorry you all had to witness this. You three have always been nothing but professional and kind. This isn't a reflection on you. Jamie, please, Ginger said. Maybe we can move to a different segment. Have you talk with just us? I appreciate that, Jamie said genuinely. But I think the damage is done here. I'm not going to stay somewhere where I'm clearly not wanted, where the host has decided to use his platform to tear me down instead of having a real conversation. Michael laughed again, that same condescending laugh. Listen to yourself. You sound like a child. Grow up. No, Jamie said, turning to face Michael directly. You grow up. You're sitting in a position that millions of people would dream of having. You have a platform to inspire people, to share stories, to make a difference. And you're using it to be mean, to belittle, to attack. That says everything about you and nothing about me. I'm using it to be honest, Michael countered. Something this industry desperately needs. Honesty without kindness is cruelty, Jamie responded. And you can dress it up however you want. Call it journalism. Call it keeping it real. Call it whatever makes you feel better about yourself. But at the end of the day, you've just been cruel. The other hosts stood helplessly, watching this confrontation unfold. The producers were likely screaming in everyone's earpieces, trying to figure out how to salvage this disaster. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment of this unprecedented clash. You know what your problem is? Michael said, stepping closer. You can't handle someone not kissing your feet. You're so used to everyone telling you how great you are, how talented you are, how amazing you are. Well, newsflash, not everyone thinks you're all that. And you know what your problem is? Jamie countered, not backing down. You've confused confidence with arrogance. You think because you had a successful career in sports, because you made it to television, that you've earned the right to treat people however you want. But respect isn't something you're entitled to just because you're in the chair. You earn it by how you treat others. I've earned plenty of respect, Michael said defensively. Have you? Jamie asked. Because right now, looking around this studio, seeing the faces of your colleagues, the crew members, everyone watching this unfold, I'm not sure anyone's feeling very respectful toward you right now. Robin stepped forward again. Jamie, we are so sorry. This is not how we conduct interviews. This is not who we are as a show. I know that, Jamie said, his tone softening when addressing Robin. I've watched this show for years. I've seen how you all treat your guests with dignity and respect, which is why this is so surprising and so disappointing. George addressed Michael directly. Michael, I think you need to apologize. This has gone way beyond appropriate interview techniques. Apologize? Michael's voice was incredulous. For what? For doing my job? Your job is to interview guests, not to attack them, George said firmly. There's a line, and you've crossed it. I haven't crossed anything, Michael insisted. If Jamie can't handle a few tough questions, that's on him, not me. They weren't questions, Ginger pointed out. They were accusations. There's a massive difference. Jamie picked up his microphone pack, beginning to remove it. I'm done here. I'm not going to continue this circus. Where are you going? Michael asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Going to run to social media and complain about how mean I was to you? No, Jamie said calmly, unhooking the mic and placing it on the chair. I'm going to leave here with my dignity intact. I'm going to go finish promoting my film at outlets where I'm treated like a human being. And I'm going to let your behavior speak for itself. My behavior? Michael said, his voice rising again. Let's talk about your behavior. Coming on here with this attitude, this superiority complex, acting like you're too good to answer real questions. I never acted superior, Jamie said, his patience clearly wearing thin. I came here ready to have a conversation. You're the one who came in with an agenda. You decided before I even sat down that you were going to make this difficult. I can see it now. This was planned. You wanted a moment, a viral clip, something to make headlines. Well, congratulations. You got it, but at what cost? The studio was thick with tension. Crew members whispered to each other. The other host looked mortified. Michael stood there, his jaw clenched, clearly not expecting Jamie to stand up for himself so forcefully. You don't know what you're talking about, Michael said, but his voice had lost some of its earlier confidence. Don't I? Jamie challenged. I've been doing interviews for 3 decades. I know when someone's being genuine and when someone's performing. And you, my friend, are putting on a performance. The tough guy, the interviewer who isn't afraid to go hard. But there's nothing brave about being mean. There's nothing courageous about punching down. Real strength is in lifting people up, not tearing them down. Robin nodded, tears visible in her eyes. He's right, Michael. This isn't who we are. This isn't what we stand for. Oh, please, Michael said, waving his hand dismissively. Don't get all emotional. This is business. This is television. No, Ginger said, her voice stronger now. This is people. This is about treating another human being with respect. And we've failed at that today. I'm ashamed to be sitting here right now. Michael looked at Ginger, surprise crossing his face. You're ashamed? For what? For not stopping this sooner, Ginger said. For letting you continue when we all knew this was wrong. George nodded in agreement. She's right. We should have stepped in earlier. Jamie, I apologize on behalf of all of us. You don't need to apologize, Jamie. Realize for the first time that he was alone in this. You're all overreacting. This is ridiculous. What's ridiculous, Robin said, her voice steady and strong, is that we're standing here, on live television, watching a guest be treated this way. What's ridiculous is that you seem to have no remorse, no understanding of how inappropriate this has been. I don't need a lecture from you, Michael snapped at Robin. Don't you dare, George said, his voice sharp. Don't you dare speak to her that way. You've already done enough damage this morning. Jamie had fully removed his microphone now and was gathering his things. I genuinely hope you all have a good rest of your day. To the viewers at home who tuned in expecting something different, I apologize that you had to witness this. My film comes out next Friday. If you want to know what it's really about, what it really represents, I'll be doing interviews all week with people who actually want to have a conversation. There he goes, Michael said to the camera, running away because he couldn't handle a real interview. Jamie stopped, turning back one final time. You know what the saddest part of all this is? You actually believe that's what this was? You actually think you were doing something noble here? But years from now, when people look back at this moment, they're not going to remember you as the brave interviewer who asked tough questions. They're going to remember you as the host, who forgot that kindness matters, who forgot that behind every celebrity, every public figure, every person sitting in that guest chair is a human being who deserves basic respect. The words hung in the air, heavy and true. Even Michael seemed at a loss for words, his mouth opening and closing, without sound coming out. Jamie, Robin said softly, walking over to him, I'm so sorry. This should never have happened. Jamie gave her a hug. Thank you for being kind. That means more than you know. He hugged Ginger and shook George's hand. You three keep being the heart of this. Joe, don't let anyone change that. As Jamie walked toward the exit, you could see the crew parting to let him through. Some looked sympathetic, others looked angry, but everyone understood they had just witnessed something unprecedented. A guest, a beloved figure in entertainment, had been pushed too far and had stood up for himself with grace and dignity. Michael stood at the desk, watching him go, his face a mixture of defiance and something else. Perhaps the first glimmers of realization that he had made a terrible mistake. Well, Michael said to the camera, trying to regain control, that was certainly interesting. Interesting? Robin repeated, her voice filled with disbelief. Michael, what just happened was unacceptable, and we need to address it. We'll address it during the commercial break, Michael said curtly. No, George said firmly. We'll address it now. Our viewers deserve to know that what they just witnessed does not represent the values of this show. We're moving on, Michael insisted. But Jamie was already gone, walking out of the studio with his head held high. The sound of the heavy studio door closing behind him echoed through the space. A final punctuation mark on one of the most shocking moments in morning television history. Behind the scenes, producers scrambled. Phones were ringing. Social media was exploding. Within minutes, clips of the confrontation were spreading across every platform. People were taking sides, sharing their opinions, dissecting every word, every gesture, every moment of the heated exchange. But in that studio, in that moment, as the cameras continued to roll and the host tried to figure out how to proceed, one thing was crystal clear. Something had broken. The carefully constructed facade of morning television pleasantries had shattered, revealing the raw human emotions underneath. Pride, anger, hurt, disappointment, all laid bare for millions to see. Jamie Foxx had walked into that studio expecting a normal interview. He had left having stood up for himself in the face of unwarranted hostility, and while the incident would spark countless debates and discussions in the days and weeks to come, in that immediate moment, as he walked through the corridors of the television studio, there was a sense of relief. Relief that he had not compromised his dignity. Relief that he had spoken his truth. Relief that sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. The confrontation had lasted less than 20 minutes from start to finish, but its impact would reverberate far beyond that morning. It would become a teaching moment about respect, about professionalism, about the line between tough journalism and simple cruelty. It would spark conversations about how we treat public figures, about the responsibilities of those with platforms, about the importance of kindness even in the midst of difficult conversations. Back in the studio, the remaining hosts sat in uncomfortable silence, the weight of what had just transpired settling over them. Michael finally sat down, his earlier bravado fading into something more uncertain. Robin, George, and Ginger exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. They had witnessed something they never wanted to see again, had been part of something that went against everything they believed their show stood for. And somewhere, Jamie Foxx was getting into his car, taking a deep breath, and moving forward. Because that's what you do when you refuse to let someone else's behavior diminish your worth. You stand up, you speak your truth, and you walk away, knowing that you maintained your integrity when it mattered most. The heated exchange was over, but the conversation it started was just beginning.